Hello. In this overview, I want to show you how the analytics section works. It's a basic overview, and the data in here is all a bit crazy because it's my local account. So forgive the actual data itself. It might look a little bit unrealistic, but you'll get an idea for how the analytics section works and just an overview of what you get to see. So the analytics is basically a section that deals with showing you everything that's happened for your students in terms of their progress and their attainment and what they've been doing. And it's really quite detailed, so we're going to have a look into that now. So I'm in my dashboard here. I click on Analytics, and it takes me directly to my Analytics kind of overview screen summary. And you'll see the first thing that it does is it shows you a summary of all groups. And again, we're going to be adding more to this, much more detail over time to this. But for now, this is where we are. And you can see here that if I roll over this, it tells me who the struggling students are. And it says students who have been performing less well overall may need some support, etc. And then it gives you the average performance. So these are just really high-level KPIs for how your students are doing in general on the system. Note that this is the summary of all your groups, so this is an aggregate of all the groups. And if I click on one of the graph items, it'll actually take me into some more detail on those students, and that is the same screen that I'm going to show you some more of a little bit as we go a little bit deeper into this. But basically, I'm just showing you that you can click on them. So this basically is a quick way of seeing which of the students in all of your groups are having the most problems, and therefore maybe you want to have a look at. So that's the summary, and then you've also got a couple of extra sections in here. You've got the whole class section. This deals with the whole class games that you've been playing with Quickfire at the moment. We're going to add more whole class games. Quickfire is our current one, but we're going to be adding more, so you'll have multiple different game types for your whole class in here. They'll all be under the premium subscription. At the moment, we've just got this Quickfire one. I've got quite a lot in here because this is my testing account. So these are all the Quickfire sessions that have been played, and it allows you to view a little bit of detail about the players. In fact, this was a little bit, it's all a little bit silly really, because we've got so few players in these. In fact, they hardly work because they've got so few players in them. But you would have a much more realistic set of stuff in here. Again, please forgive this, it's just test data on my local machine. It's not really very helpful. So this would be your quickfire sessions, and you can see what the content of the question collections that were being played were in those quickfire whole class sessions as well. So that's just a little bit of an overview, and I'll leave you to dig deeper into that. The main meat of this is in these groups though. So this is the summary here, and then you've got the whole class, and then this lists the groups. So if I go to class 4B, Class 4B is one of my testing groups locally again. So the data in here is a bit crazy really. It's a little bit unrealistic, but hopefully it helps to show. And again, we've got a struggling graph, so this shows the people who are, or a struggling donut chart I should say really, which allows you to see who the users or your students who are struggling most are. And again, you can, as I said, you can click on those to see a little bit more about the detail of those. You can also see the overall performance of students, so you can see who is performing well overall and who is performing less well overall. So they're kind of inverse charts really, because this one is the red, the large sections are struggling, and here the large sections are not struggling, they're doing well. Okay, so, and again, you can click on these to get the detail of that. It shows you the percentage of people who have played in the last 7 days and in the last 24 hours. So this just gives you a very quick overview for this group of how many of them have actually been playing, which is useful to know, and when they've been playing, so that you can quickly get a gauge of that. So that's just really an idea to give you an idea of what's been going on within the overall accounts, and whether people have been doing your homework or whatever it is you've been setting them. Then we've got the student list itself, and this lists the student names and when they last played again, so that's helpful information to check that they have actually played recently. And then there's the performance overview for them. That performance overview is their general overall progress. So that will give you an idea how well overall they are doing. But it is literally just that. It's kind of a high level So let's take student 1 here. So this one here. I can click on the details button for that, and I can go into more details for this student, and again, it's a fake account. There's lots of really crazy stuff in here because this student is my main student testing account. It's all a bit crazy, but here you can see that the overall performance for this student is 74%. So that's their current average performance over all the question collections that they've been playing. It's also worth noting that this includes the performance within the whole class learning games as well, because the scores that they get if they're logged in users when they're playing the whole class games also feed into all of this stuff. So you're seeing an aggregate here for all of that stuff. So it says when they last played, and it says how much time they have spent playing in the last 7 days. So obviously it's crazy data here. 16 seconds is unrealistic, but this is a test account. So it'll tell you how many minutes and seconds that they have been playing in the last 7 days. So that gives you an idea of just how much they have actually been engaging with it. Not just whether they have played, but how much time they've actually spent on it as well, which is useful information. You can also see their activity, and this will give you an exact breakdown. So that's the tab at the top here, exact breakdown of how many times they've logged in the last 7 days, how many times they've logged in the last 14 days as well, and it will tell you the times and dates of those logins, exactly when. So you can really get a really great amount of detail. As I say, this one goes on and on, doesn't it? You can get a really great amount of detail about exactly when that student was playing. So if they say, oh yes, I was playing last night, you can check and see, did they, and at what time did they do it, or did they do it this morning in a rush on the way to school, So going back to the summary again, so those are the kind of the headline stuff, the overall stuff for the student, the activity and performance. We've also then got a list of all the question collections and how they have been performing within those. Again, I've got quite a lot of stuff in there, so it's a little bit crazy. Let's find something that's a sensible one to look at here. Okay, I think this one's got some reasonable data, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it's a bit bonkers, but it's got reasonable data. Okay, so you just select the question collection that you'd like to see. You'll notice that you've got a performance element on there as well. So you've got the question collection name, when it was last played, the amount of time playing games with this question collection in the last 7 days, which again is quite useful if you want to check just how much time a student has been spending on one of your particular question collections. You've set them, that's that figure, and then you've got their performance, and this will be the basically the performance for that question collection overall. So you can then click on the details for that, and that takes you to a much more granular detail for that specific question collection. This question collection is called 20 questions, by the way. It's a bit of a strange name. So this here is the number of the plays that they've done. So they've done 23 plays of this question collection and their progress over time. Now it's a testing question collection, so as I say, this is pretty unrealistic data. I wouldn't expect to see it quite like this in yours. And this is the percent of questions that have been answered correctly the first time. So this is kind of a basic indicator of whether they know the questions or not. So when they're playing it, these are their percentages during the gameplays. So you'll see in time, hopefully a nice progress graph going up and to the right, which is the direction we all like to see. And then below that, we've got some more kind of headline figures for this particular, for this particular question collection now. So these are headlines for the question collection. We've got the overall performance, which is now at 100% because they've been doing really well for this last 20 games or so they've been playing. And then you've got the average time. So this is the average time spent playing each question, and the average number of plays. So this is the average number of times that each question has been played. So again, quite nice information there. Then if you go down from here, now we have a list of the questions themselves. So this is actually quite granular. Now these questions, again, they're a bit crazy questions. These, where I've got 11, 17, 6, these are actually the questions. So you would see, in fact, let's just find another question collection to here, so show you something a little bit more realistic. I think that's got some proper data in it. Yes, okay, right. So here's the list of the questions. So it actually shows you the question that has been asked to the student at that point in time. Actually, this is rather a better section, this. So a little bit more realistic. So this is a more realistic kind of graph that you would see. So it shows you the list of questions here, and it shows you the weakness level. So if they've got a tick, it means that they're basically quite strong in it, no problems. If they're quite weak, then it shows how weak. And you can filter based on weakness so that you can see what their weakest questions are. It'll also show you the average time that they spent on that question. And it'll also show you the number of plays that they made for that question. In fact, I am actually going to go back to that original question collection because it was 20 questions, because it's got a bit more data in it. So here you can see weakness level. Some of these are okay, and so basically okay is on the left and really bad is on the right, and a tick is good. So here we've got for this one here an average. So weakness is okay, average time of 1.4 seconds, 7 plays. And if I click on the details now for this, it'll take me into exactly when they played that question and what and how and all the rest of it. So again, up here the question is number 14. That would be the full question text there instead. So it shows you that they've played 7 times. The average was 1.4 seconds. The total time on the question is 9.5 seconds. Again, it's very unrealistic data, and their weakness level is okay for this question. Okay, so we've drilled down right into the student and into this question, and now we're looking at that. And then you've got the list of the actual dates and times that they played these questions and how many attempts that they took. So this gives you when they played it and when they made that attempt, and then the device on which they did it as well, because we have a student app on the mobile and we also have it on desktop version as well, so it can tell you where they played it. So this may be helpful to you to know if they were playing it on their mobile or the desktop, to see how they were doing it. And then it also tells you whether they got the attempt correct or not. So each of the, if you look at this question attempt down here, this question down here, they played this and they had 2 attempts at it. The first attempt they got incorrect, the second attempt they got correct. And you can then drill down even further because you can actually drill into the attempt itself and have a look at that. So if I click on details, it tells you the attempt number, so it'll be that'll be if they attempted it on if this was the first attempt at that question, or the second or the third or whatever. Because you can, in formative mode, they might attempt it a number of times before they can continue. The time spent on the attempt, whether it was answered correctly, the exact date and time. It tells you the type of question. It tells you the device again, and it's going to show you the question in a bit more detail here. We haven't actually implemented that yet. And then it tells you what the answer that was given by the student. This is a true or false question, and they gave a false answer. So it gives you a really great deal of detail. And then this one here is that they got it correct and it was the true answer. So you can really drill down right the way down into the actual attempts that the students did on those questions. Let's go back up right to the top again now. Okay, so that deals with drilling down into the data from the student's point of view, but the other angle you might want to do it is from the question collections themselves point of view. So rather than looking at the students, we're looking at the question collections and seeing how things are performing in there. And if we go into there, we've got a number of kind of ways of filtering these. We've got ones that are set as formative or summative. So just as a recap for anyone who doesn't know, you can set question collections to students as formative or summative. Formative is for helping them to actually learn it, and summative is more of an assessment. In formative mode, they will be presented the question, and if they get it incorrect, they will be guided. There's guidance, feedback, which will guide them to answering. Ultimately, they have to answer it correctly before they move on. Summative is testing. They basically just get the question up, they answer it, and it disappears regardless of whether they got it correct or incorrect, and it just logs that in the analytics. So you can see that you can filter here whether you want to view question collections that is currently set as formative or summative, and these are the ones that are in there, or the ones that are just set as formative. So these are the ones that are just set as formative, these are the ones that are just set as summative. And you can also do ones that were set in the past. So if these are ones that were set but you've now unset again, you can actually view the data for those too as well. But let's just go into the is set as formative or summative, and let's pick the 20 questions again. So here now we're seeing the performance for that particular question collection for all the students. So this is a slightly different angle. Before you were looking at the student and then seeing how the students, that particular individual student was doing on the question collection. Here we're looking at the question collection and seeing how all the students are doing on it. So here we can see the struggling students. These are the students who are struggling with it. And you can click to see the student detail and drill down into that again if you wish to. You can see the performance for that particular for the students within it. So this again is kind of like the inverse of struggling. This is people who are doing better, and then this is the percentage of students who have played this question collection in the last 7 days and in the last 24 hours as well. So similar data to in the other section, but of course the other way around. And then we list the students within it, and we can go into the details. So this is, let's have a look at student 1 again and drill down into the details. And actually this is now coming back into the same screens that you would get if you went to the student and then to the question collection. So you can, it's just a different route to drilling down. You can drill down from a different route. So if you're interested in seeing how your students have been doing on this particular question collection, then this is the way to do it. And so drilling down is exactly the same. You drill down into the questions and you can see the details and all the attempts and all the rest of it that you could see via the other route. So that pretty much summarises the analytics section. We'll be adding certain features to this, maybe the ability to download some data from this and all those sort of things in time. But hopefully that gives you a good overview of how it works. Thanks very much.